Hey everyone, welcome to the first AFC Motorcycles bike review. We're out here at Maho MX track. There's a motocross track, obviously, a natural terrain one, about a 2-minute loop. Obviously we're in some pretty good farmland out here. There's also a trail loop they've got out here, about 20 minutes long, and we're only 10 minutes out of Palmy, so it's nice and central for us, and we all love coming out here. Today we're going to be reviewing the 350 SXF against the 350 XCF, and they're both 2020 models. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the features and benefits, and got some friends and customers that are going to do a bit of riding and tell you the pros and cons of both bikes. Some of the main differences between the XCF and the SXF are the 18-inch rear wheel for the thicker sidewall on the tyre for the XCF compared to the SXF. The XCF runs a 9-litre fuel tank compared to the SXF, which is only a 6-litre. Our main difference is the 6-speed gearbox that these run compared to the 5-speed gearbox, as well as these running a side stand for when you've got to get off and have a break. The valving in the forks and suspension is slightly soft on the XCF for the trail rider and the common rider, whereas the SXF stuff is a little bit firmer and it holds up a little bit better on the tracks. The XCF with the 6-speed gearbox, they run a slightly softer mapping or engine tune, so it's a slightly more gentle power curve the whole time compared to the SXF, where it's got a bit more of a hit, a bit more of a bark. Kind of with the 5-speed gearbox, you kind of find that has a bit more of a bark anyway because of that, but it's definitely, this is a nice bike for your trail rider, everyday kind of rider sort of person wanting, there's still plenty of bark in these bikes. They both run the map and traction control switches. You got map 1 for the gentle power curve, map 2 for the steep power curve. They both run that, and then obviously the traction control that tries to eliminate the wheel spin at the rear. So we got Callum here that's been riding the XCF and SXF, and also Brody that they've swapped around and done a little bit of different stuff. Callum here mainly rides in the trees, is the trail rider kind of a guy. Brody does a bit of trail rides and actually does quite a bit of track stuff with his mates and stuff like that. So they're common to both bikes now after riding them, so they've probably got a little bit of points and stuff like that they can talk about. Callum, for you, out on the trail stuff, the 6-speed gearbox, is that a plus? Or?
Oh, definitely. It's just an easy bike to ride.
Yep.
Like I haven't touched any of the suspension, basically just got on and ridden it really. And it's just a user-friendly machine that you get on, and as a weekend warrior like I am, I can get on and have some fun and put it back in the shed at the end of it, and it's a fantastic bike.
Yeah, perfect. Brody, did you notice out on the trail loops out here, the suspension differences, the SX being a little bit harder feeling?
Yeah, I think what you lose on the track, you gain back in the trail. So it kind of makes it hard for me since I ride both.
Yep.
It's like if I was riding a little bit more of one style, one discipline over another, that would kind of determine which bike I'd buy.
Yep.
But because I do both, I'm kind of directly in the middle. But certainly the forks on a motocross track, you sort of notice them blowing a little bit on the XC, but then the SXF is probably a little bit harsh in the trees.
Yep. Yeah, that makes sense. And out on the track, the 6-speed gearbox on the XC, did you feel like it didn't have the torque out of the corners compared to the SXF, or was that noticeable?
Here today with the traction, I didn't feel disadvantaged at all.
Yep.
But definitely in the trees, the XC comes into its own. You can just lug it in the gear a little bit better.
Yep.
Whereas the SX, you've got to be clutching a bit more, and it's sort of have to work it a little bit more. Whereas the XC seems to have a perfect gear for every part of the trees. Yep.
And Callum, for you in the open spaces and stuff like that, the 6-speed gearbox obviously comes into its own up the top.
Oh, definitely. It's like I say, Liam, it's a user-friendly bike. The motocross one is definitely more aggressive, but like when you're doing the sort of riding that I'm doing, I'd rather have a bike that's a little bit more mellow. And the beauty of these bikes here is they've got the mapping and they've got the traction control. I mean, I ride it in mapping 1, which is the lowest one in TC, which that makes it so user-friendly. Like if you're a weekend warrior and you want to run the TC, it keeps the bike in a straight line when you're up the hills, and it makes it enjoyable. It makes an average rider look good.
I guess for me, the main differences between the XCF and the SXF, obviously the biggest one I would say would be the 6-speed gearbox. The 5-speed on the SXF, you find it has a lot more punch out of corners and stuff like that. I do a lot of track stuff and then real tight stuff in the trees, so I often find that coming out of a corner or something like that, you give it a bit of a twist on the throttle on the SXF and it's got enough foot to kind of shoot you out of the corner. Whereas the XC is kind of, if it's a nice open ride like we have in New Zealand, we have plenty of them. The 6-speed's awesome because you can lug in 4/5 kind of gear, and then you've still got a 6 when you're hooning across the paddock, full speed, like you probably shouldn't be on a trail ride, but that's all part of it. From a sales point of view, you kind of find that SXF sells to a lot of the people doing mainly track work. You get a few people that get the SXF and put a bigger fuel tank on them because they like that power and how reactive it is, and then also the 19-inch wheel, they love that too. But for a lot of people that are trail riding and stuff like that, XCF is an ideal bike to buy. And you often find a lot of people coming down from the 450 to the 350 because it's such a nice bike all-rounder. You can ride them really hard, or you can just cruise, and they've still got plenty of torque there, which is awesome. Hope you guys enjoyed the SXF XCF review on the 350s. They're an amazing bike. I think they're the best in the KTM lineup for sure, and pretty biased. I think they're the best bike out on the market today, with their way the engine packages, the forks, the chassis and all that kind of stuff works. I mean, I'm no professional, I don't know exactly how it all works, but it all feels really nice as soon as it's out the box. And to buy it straight from the showroom floor and get out there on the track or in the trails or go to a trail ride, you have a lot of fun, and at the end of the day you're always smiling about it.